The best engineering question I've ever gotten, part 1. I didn't realize that there's a part 2 to this. It's been a while since I was on the receiving end of a software engineering interview, but I still remember my favorite interview question. It was at Memsqueal circa 2013. I haven't kept their name, so I assume they're not still relying on the specific interview question. I don't feel bad for revealing it. It's a great story that I tell people a lot. I've just never blogged about it. I'd say that if you're asking a question in 2013 and you're still asking the same question in 2024, yeah, fair and factual. Okay, so this is a question per se. It's a programming challenge. I forget how much time they gave for it. Let's say 3 hours. Oof, that's a long one to explain the problem. Since Memsqueal is a database company, this is a database challenge. Okay, so I am probably not capable of understanding this one. I have never done anything with databases, like in the implementation side of things. Squeal questions are wild. I could imagine they're quite wild. Introducing Memcached. You know about Memcached? No? Well, it's an in-memory key value store. Read its about page here. Let's download the code and build it so I can show you what it does. You may need to brew, install, libevent, and maybe some other stuff in order to build Memcached successfully. It won't be too difficult to figure out, but anyways, wrangling your environment wasn't part of the test. You can assume interviewees were given access to a Linux box with all the right dependencies in place already. If you give me access to a Linux box with all the right dependencies, I have already failed because I can't type on QWERTY. Right? Are you assuming my keyboard layout? Absolutely unhinged. For authentic 2013 experience, let's bypass the GitHub repo and untar the contemporary source distribution. Shazam. Now we've built Memcached executable. Let's start running it. Memcached. We can talk to the server via the default Memcached port 11211. I love palindromes. Oh my goodness, I love this. Its protocol is basically plain text, so we use the old plain telnet to talk to it. If you don't have telnet anymore, substitute words nic-c for telnet. All right, telnet, this guy, trying to connect. Let's go. Escape character. Okay, who has not pressed the escape character? Who has not pressed that while telnetting? There was a time when I used to have to, when I was at my previous company, where I had to use telnet to get like debugging messages out. Oh my gosh. One would telnet quite regularly. Playing with Memcached. Memcached is a key value store. That means we can tell it to remember something and associate it between a key and a value, and then ask it later for the key again, and it'll tell us the value it remembered. In Memcached, keys are always ASCII strings, and values are always arbitrary byte streams, which means you must specify their length manually. For example, type this into the telnet section. Set full name 03610. 10 would be John Smith. Okay, so 3600 must be the expiration. This tells a Memcached to remember the association, the string key full name, and the 10-byte value John Smith. The other numbers on that line are flags, value 0 to remember alongside the byte stream value, and an expiry timeout 3600 measured in seconds. Nice. Okay, after which Memcached will forget the association. Anyways, after you type these two lines, Memcached will respond. Stored. Okay, so right now, this is 2013, and Memcached just outperformed Valve. The open source project has more security and storage ability than Valve does. This is impressive. Okay? This is really impressive because in 2013, Valve was getting defeated by a text file over and over again. Meanwhile, Memcached out here just pretending to be a database is already doing better. Now you can retrieve the value of the full name by typing into the same telnet session. Get full name, value, this, John Smith, and nice. I love good old-fashioned COBOL style. Oh, man. Who would not want to write a parser for this? It sounds so good right now. This would actually be a fun parser because you'd have to hit this. You'd have this. This would be the key that comes back, which is just awesome that it responds with the key you gave it, and then it responds with a text range, and then it responds with an end. Like, there must be a reason to this. Maybe it returns multiple values. I'm not exactly sure why this happens, but man, this is so good. This is so good. You can overwrite a value association with the full name by using another set full name command. You can also ask Memcached to modify the key in certain ways. For example, there are special dedicated commands to append and prepend. Append full name Jones. Oh my gosh, is that Alex Jones? No, it's John Smith Jones. Completely ridiculous. Stored. Get full name 0 to 16. Okay. I like it. Of course, you will want to append Jones to full name from within a client program. You could do something like this. Python install memcache, get full name set Jones, let's go. Okay. But the advantage of Memcached dedicated append command is that it's guaranteed to execute atomically. If you have multiple clients connected to the same Memcached server, they're all trying to append to the same key at the same time, and the get set version might cause some of those updates to be lost. Whereas with append, you assured that they'll all be accounted for. Another dedicated command that executes atomically is increment. Awesome. Okay, set age to 37. Nice. This is how many bytes this number is stored in ASCII. Increment that age. Let's go. He also, oh, nice. Memcached also is written by Brad Fitz, who did the Go standard library. Cool. Let's go. This response is useful because of the multiple clients thing. Oh, really? Memcached responds with the post-incremented value, but it doesn't respond with the key and the length and all that stuff, because it seems to be doing this for the other ones. All right. Interesting. This response is useful because of the multiple clients thing. If you issued a separate get age command, you might see the new value only after several other clients had done their own updates. If you're intending to use the value as a serial number or as a squeal primary key or something like that, then it's very good that there's a way to see the incremented value atomically. Memcached remembers the incremented value too, of course. Note that 37 and 38 are still being stored and returned as byte strings. They're decoded from ASCII into integers and back as part of the atomic operation. If you increment a non-integer value, you'll get an error. Okay, nice. Right now, this is very exciting. I feel like I'm really ready for this one. I feel like my soul is ready for this interview question. Finally, note that incr is a full-fledged addition operator. You can increment by any positive, not just one. Okay. Oh, nice. By the way, when you're done talking to Memcached and want to kill the connection, you can type Memcached quit. If you're using Nick, Control-D, or just go to the terminal window where the Memcached server is running and Control-C to bring it down. The challenge, modifying Memcached. Via its increment and decrementing commands, Memcached provides a built-in way to atomically add k to a number, but it doesn't provide any arithmetic operations. In particular, there is no atomic multiply by k operation. Your programming challenge, add mult command to Memcached. When you're done, it should be able to telnet your Memcached client. It looks like this. You have 3 hours. Go. Oh, this is actually a pretty cool question. One reason why I, right off the rip, think this is a pretty exciting question is the fact that you're going to touch a lot of things here. You're going to touch parsing. Right? You're going to have to figure out how to add commands. You're going to have to work with the database. You're going to have to do all of it. Run inc k times. I failed, right? 3 hours is insane. I failed. Nerd sniped again. I'm not getting nerd sniped. I'm not going to spend 3 hours doing this, though I want to. The problem is I don't have infinite time. I know I just stream for a living, but man, I can feel it in me, right? Dude, you want to write a parser for this so bad. I do. Parsing is so much fun. I love parsing. I love parsing, okay? Shut up. This sounds so exciting. Do it. No, I refuse. I refuse because I want to write simulation testing, okay? So I have to make a choice. Am I writing simulation testing or am I writing a parser for Memcached from 2013? I don't want to do it, okay? I don't want to do that, all right? I already know what I want to do. I'm not parsing. Why not both? Because time is limited. I want to spend all the time. I want to spend all the time I can on this because I have to refactor so much stuff here. I don't care about a poll. Guys, you must understand that this is not a democracy. Okay? This is, in fact, not a democracy. I'm not doing it. The best engineering question part 2. Before you read this post, which contains spoilers, you should read this one. We've already read this one, okay? Not doing it. The challenge, modifying Memcached via its incr and decr commands. Memcached provides a built-in way to atomically add k to a number, but it doesn't provide other arithmetic operations. In particular, there is no atomic multiplying by k operation. Your program challenge to do it. Analysis. This is a great engineering interview problem because it's pretty cleanly partitions the candidate pool into 3 different types. Type 0 is just completely stumped by the challenge of interacting with the real code base. Well, if they're also not familiar with C, dude, I have not C'd very much in my life. Okay, I've seen a decent amount, but not that much. And so a lot of the struggle for me would be, I know this is network to host long, right? Long. Technically, it's a long. This is just a long. But still, there's like a lot of effort one would have to put in to do it. Right? Assert, long, man. Dude, it's a long, man. right? Do it. No, I don't think many people in this category would get all the way to this point in the interview process anyways. If you discover that the candidate is in this group, well, don't hire them. Yep. By the time Memsqueal 2013 was doing deeply arcane high performance C++ 11. So the fact that this challenge incidentally requires fluency in C was a plus, not a minus for their purposes. If your code base is all Python and Go, you probably wouldn't use Memcached for your interview challenge. Yes, there's definitely a language barrier here. Right? Type 1. Folks looks at the problem and says, I know just what to do. Multiplication is just a repeated addition, and we already have a ready-made addition subroutine in the form of Inker. So I'll just build on top of that. But instead of adding a constants to x values, we need to add x value to itself. The whole thing needs to be atomic. Let's look at how the new locking works. They spend all 3 hours going deeper and deeper down various rabbit holes, never producing anything that works. Candidates in this group don't get hired. Damn. So they try to make add work and then get stuck on locking. Okay. Type 2 look at the problem and says, I know just how to do this. Multiplication is just like addition, except whenever addition does plus, we should just do multiply. And they copy and paste change all the pluses to stars, and they're done in 90 minutes. Candidates in this group, stand a really good chance of being hired. Interesting. I would not have expected that would be the one that you wanted to do. The best candidates will notice they've got lots of time left and polish their submission, for example, by making sure its formatting is consistent, adding unit tests, and revising their design decisions to make sure they can justify them if asked. Okay. To make sure my time estimates were in the right ballpark yesterday afternoon, I did the whole thing myself. This section is likely to bore all but the most masochist readers. Feel free to skip down to the conclusion. Let's get masochistic. I started for grepping with Inker. Okay, I started with the exact... I feel like I started with the exact same approach, right? Since we want to imitate the existing Inker command, it must be parsed somewhere. That led me to the part of the process command function that looks like this. All right. Nice. Okay, there it is. Let's go. The argument with the value... Okay, so where is this one in? Process command. There we go. So you'd have this one right here, which has... So this is where we're hitting. End of message, out of string client. It cannot increment or decrement a non-numeric value. Nice, look at that. So we have an add delta. I feel like we were already here at add delta earlier. And then there's a lot of different versions of this exact same thing. I feel like we were... Nice. Okay. And there you go. Lock, unlock, hash value. Oh, okay, nice. Look at this nice little beautiful piece of code. You're just doing this, so the do add must be where this is happening, right? And there's some implementation of do add that does it in a nice, beautiful way. It's in Memcached. See, do get item, does all this, remove this. Memcached increment command. Oh man, we're already in the world's greatest thing ever. Which have we officially hit everybody's favorite? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We're in it. We're into the macro system. Does anybody have any idea what's happening? No. No, you don't. No, you don't, because I don't even know how this and this work at this point. Nobody knows how that works. All right. The argument with a value 0 or 1 corresponds to the parameter bool inc, and I changed that int to opcode to change to the callers. Okay. If tokens equals 4 or 5 and tokens equals inker, then we do this, equals 0, then process arithmetic tokens 1, 1. Else, if tokens, do this, and we process it with the 2. Nice. So just add another if statement and call this... All right, hey, that's good enough for me. These magic numbers were a pretty bad design decision, but the quick decision keeps me moving forward. What I see is pretty horrible. I will just copy it and move on. I'm a good citizen. 10 minutes later, I realized a better solution and revisited the code. I skim over the body of process arithmetic command, looking for a reference of incrementing and decrementing. The error message, client error cannot increment or decrement a non-numeric value, seems a little suboptimal, so I changed that to code. Changed that code to this one. Okay, nice. Similarly, just below, I do opcode. This one, mult misses. All right, nice. If opcode equals 2, do that. Okay, nice, nice. Mental note that I'll have to add mult misses a field to wherever C thread stats is. But for now, I press forward, and I forget the compiler error will remind me. Ah, nice. Let's go. There's this add delta. Here we go. Okay, add delta. Oh, interesting. So they're actually going to go with not just inker, but opcode. Okay. Grepping forward down the add delta. Let's go. Do add delta. Let's go. We're there. Nice. Changing it to opcode. Very cool. This signature violates my guidelines for const correct code in that it passes a lot of things by const value. But let's not take that bait. Replace bool with an int and keep going. Let's go. Let's go. Finally, we found a place where we're looking for, the place where we need the change. There it is. Let's go. There's that inc command. What the hell is this command doing? I don't even know what this command's doing. What the hell is it? Right? What the hell is this thing? Mental note, to implement memcached mult and press onward. A little further down, note that the slab stats needs mult hits field. We've reached the end of the do add delta. Wait, this is a do add delta. So what's the add delta? Ah, it's called from 2 places. The first place sets bool inc to C command protocol binary command increment. Grepping for primary command increment reveals that there's an enumeration for all commands in the protocol binary .h. I should use that. Add protocol command multiply to that enumeration and refactor all the work I've done so far to use the protocol binary command decrement this one instead of magic numbers 0, 1, 2. Nice. Int opcode can stay as an int since grepping for the enumeration type's name reveals that literally nothing in the code base uses the type by name. Dude, creates an enumeration and then immediately never uses it. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. That's like everything we've ever wanted. Dual pointer referenced, yeah. Nothing seems better. Implementing memcached command mult in traced H tells me that I need a macro named memcached mult enabled. So what's this used? It's not, let's see. So where's that used? It's not okay. Okay, add it anyways. Chesterton's fence. I don't know why these are enabled macros exist. Then I certainly shouldn't try to do anything novel with my new one. I'll follow the herd. What a great usage of Chesterton's fence, by the way. It already exists. Keep the fence there. You know, we were just looking at that, going, what the heck is this thing? Right? What are you doing? What is this enabled and why is it a 0? Right? What the heck? Right? And I only see it once, so I don't know what that even means. I'm not good at, like, this is where my C breaks down, is once we get into the macro area, I feel very generally confused. Finishing up the remaining compiler errors, I add mult hits to the struct slab stats right next to the increment hits and decrement hits. Get grep inc hits shows a lot of places it's used. When I'm done, grep hits mult hits shows the same number of uses. All right. Nice. Hey, that's a great, by the way, that's a great way of doing it. You already know inc hits exists. If you can have the exact same amount of mult hits, then you probably are on the right track. That's good. Is sneaky because I had to modify my copy of it in 2 places. I also added mult misses field to the struct and thread stats and ready change. See, now we have a switch. Yep, there it is. Nice. Okay, good. We don't technically need to change add delta itself from taking a const int incrementer to taking a const int opcode, but I think it's a good idea. So I reached the code completion milestone in 25 minutes. Let's try it out. Ah, crap. I returned to the one place where multiplication is supposed to be happening. That should be using my new protocol binary command multiply. I fixed that. In fact, I grep for opcode equals, and I fixed, and fix a few more places I'd miss. I reached code really complete milestone in 32 minutes. This time, the code really does seem to work. I run a few manual tests. Nice. I check its behavior on integer wraparound, and I check The syntax malt age 10, no reply to make sure that it's also supported. Since I implemented everything by copying and paste, there's basically no way these things won't work just as well as they work in increment and decrement. With all this manual testing, I should probably write some actual tests. Are there tests in the repo? Yes, under T, make. Test builds, run them. So I copy T inker and T malt and modify it. Nice, let's go. I imagine a candidate who didn't mess with the test would still pass the interview. Priorities in an interview are different from priorities when making a pull request. Therefore, this is a great place for even most introverted candidates to raise their head and interact a little bit. I think I've got something that works. Do you want me to take a look? Or do you want to take a look? This is good, by the way. This is very interesting. This is pretty sweet. I see there's more tests in the binary T. I guess I should take a look at them too, even though I don't feel like it. Yeah, yikes. There's another copy of the command enumeration in there. I should add command multiply to it at least. I should also test for the new stats in stats T. Actually, because one of these tests simply counts the number of stats returned. I've added 2 more stats and let's see. That test would fail if I didn't modify it. And then around 60-minute mark, I hit the code and test pass milestone for the second time. But as I puzzle my way through UDPT, I find lots of tests devoted to binary protocol, as opposed to the plain text protocol we talked about in the problem statement. Should I modify the binary protocol as well as the plain text one? Actually, I have already, thanks to the mindless diff in the function dispatch bin command. Nice. For those, I see people asking for the article. There you go. There's the article. You can have the article too. 100% I would have just used the inker function multiple times and hoped it worked. The problem with that, Steve, is that you automatically introduce a race condition. Because even though the addition function is in fact itself, what's it called? The addition function itself is atomic, right? So you'd have a lock and an unlock, and then you'd have an add in the middle. You'd have to do the for, the for I equals 0 up to m problem, right? And then you'd be adding n, right? So the problem here is that it's locked, unlocked. If you have 2 of these running at the same time, you will not get the response you were hoping for, right? You will not get the response you were hoping for, and it'll be sad. But higher up, I see quiet versions of the same opcodes. Uh-oh. I'm not sure what those are for, but in order to do my copy-paste trick in UDPT, I'll have to add one of those to the malt. Chesterton's fence against. I don't know why these quiet opcodes are important, but if Inc and Dec have them, then malt should have one too. So I add protocol, binary, command, multiply. Well, telnet is TCP, right? So I would assume that there must be some sort of UDP. There must be some sort of UDP thing. At this point, I'm just repeating running Memcached and banging my head against the idiosyncrasies of the test code, which is all written in Perl and full of 5 and 6 parameter functions. I belatedly realized that some of the test files are failing simply because they start with a cryptic indication that says, I plan to run exactly 95 test cases, but I've added extra tests, and this makes the plan fail. Dear goodness. Around 90 minutes, I call it a day. Some of the binary protocol Perl tests are still failing, but I'm confident that's a problem with my test, not with the server code itself. Here's the secret downside to just copy and paste and change the names. The Perl tests for Inker are basically in the same form. Nice. Obfuscated through a number of layers and indirections. So when I do the obvious thing for multiplication, it comes out like this. That's a pretty bad test. Now, if making good tests was the point of the programming challenge, I'd spend an extra hour on it. Or if I were doing this to get a job, instead for a blog post, I'll spend the extra hour on it. But for this blog post, I call it a day. By the way, this is fantastic. I love this. Now looking at over this, I'm not convinced this is actually that great of an interview question. Honestly, if the goal is just to see how good you can grep through it and get to this point, and how hard you can go on Chesterton's fence / being a good citizen, it doesn't really feel like it's a W, in the sense that, do you want, it's good that somebody can mimic and go into a code base they've never seen and mimic its behavior and add something. It's not bad. But do you want that, right? Do you want somebody that can just go in and just hack away, or do you want the person that wants to refactor, right? Because this is like very different than how you would approach it for maybe your job. What's wrong with that? Well, it's not that. It's just that you have someone speed running a change. Do you want a speed run change? Is that what we're aiming for? How do you know that you're getting the right behavior? Isn't that typical for an employee? But do you want an employee that does that? Do you want an employee that what they do is just copy and pasta their way through things? Or do you want somebody... Yeah, for junior devs, that's fine. Or do you want somebody that actually asks questions and go, hey, I'm not sure. He took shortcuts. I mean, shortcuts are valid. Sometimes you got to know when to take a shortcut. Maybe this is a better test saying that he knows how to take a shortcut when he's supposed to take a shortcut, as opposed to doing the right thing just given the time. We've got a deadline, people. We'll patch it later if needed. And that's how everybody hates their life. So I'm not saying this is good or bad. Speedrun employees create technical debt. Yeah, I'm not even sure if this would be considered technical debt. Is this technical debt? I don't think this is really technical debt. It's just adding yet another little, branch to your parsing. It's just kind of interesting to be like, how fast can you find and copy and paste out exactly what to do? And if you go the wrong route, you're dead. It doesn't feel good. Because I always want challenges that a user should be able to think through if they're familiar. Like my personal favorite one that I always did at Netflix was async queue. I want to be able to take a bunch of tasks coming in, and I want to be able to execute them with a max parallelization, meaning that I should be able to say like max is 3, and then I should be able to call exec, and I could call it with a function that produces a promise, or it can be a function that takes in a function as a callback. However you want to do it. Do you want to use callbacks or do you want to use promises? And if it, however you want to do it, you can do that, right? And then it will go off and it'll exec this. It has to put it in a queue while you're waiting. And then once there's an available slot for your max 3, then it's able to execute it. So you can imagine this as like a database, right? Hey, you can only make so many requests to a service. I never want to make more than 3 parallel requests at any one time, right? And so this is a very simple, to me, this is a very, very simple kind of question, because it gives anybody that has any somewhat experience with JavaScript to be able to just knock it out of the park. If you just don't have any depth in JavaScript, then this is a hard problem. It shows me that you're not ready. But if you have depth in JavaScript, this is a very simple problem. Right? If you have enough experience, this is very, very simple. Is this the client or the server? It can be either or. Right? This is really an either or question. If you're on the client, you can also write a client that doesn't overload, say, some sort of server for requests. It somehow dedupes things. Nonetheless, there you go. So I like those kind of questions better. Questions that are effectively accomplishable within 1 hour. They're not hard, and they're very easily understandable. Right? You're able to look at it and go, oh, I can do that. Basically, batch processing promises. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna only process 3 at any one time. Yes, if that's their normal and not the exception. Yeah, hopefully you could ask them questions about how they approach this problem differently given the amount of time. For me, the thing that you'd want to hear is that they looked at the test, and the test runner is really where the problem is, and try to come up with a better way to run the test and make sure that it's a very extensible, nice testing system. That's it. Yeah, it's effectively you're writing a semaphore in JavaScript, right? You could do this in Rust by just having a semaphore and just getting permit owned, right? And then dropping at the end. Do you expect a programming answer or just understanding the problem? A programming answer. I'd expect you to be able to code that in almost no time, right? I don't think that that's a hard problem. This is not a hard problem. It's like 15 lines of JavaScript. It's not a big deal. You just take something in, take something out, the end. And then if you're really, really good, I can give you a follow-up question and say, okay, how do you do retry on errors, right? If there's an error, I want you to retry a certain amount of time. And then if you can really crush that out, then I'll go, okay, I want to be able to provide a function that determines if I should retry and then retry. The amount of people that I interview that don't know how to read a file from JS. To me, the real question is, can a person read a file? If they understand how to read a file, then I don't care if they understand how to do it in a specific language. Right? Does it really matter? I don't think it really matters. Anyways, conclusion. Retry with exponential backoff. Let's go. Right, exactly. Lolcat, the file. I like this programming challenge because it's a microcosm of what most real-world programming is like. When you're maintaining a large code base, there are always going to be code paths you don't fully understand, idioms that feel unnecessary, and masses of code that can feel hard to get a foothold in. This challenge is particularly well calibrated for an interview because there is only one correct answer. Change bool increment to int opcode. Anything isomorphic to that. The code base and problem statement together very clearly implies that there is currently 2 arithmetic opcodes, and your job is to extend it to 3 arithmetic opcodes. Imagine how much more open-ended the problem would be if Memcached didn't have a decker command. Suppose process arithmetic command had been named process increment command, and add delta didn't take a bool, inc, as a parameter, and so on. Then the candidate would have to make a much bigger creative decision. Add the parameter, in which position? Or clone the entire code path? Starting at what level? Cloning even one of these functions is probably suboptimal, but I spent 20 minutes before realizing that. The problem as presented is well crafted to steer qualified candidates into the right happy path while weeding out a whole category of unqualified candidates. Basically, this question is the software engineers as FizzBuzz is to programmers. Okay, so I've never ever make the distinction between software engineers versus programmers. That's always like such a weird hill people have. Honestly, don't even call me a software engineer. Don't. You know why? Because you know for a fact that if you want to be a real engineer, you also have to be responsible. Do you really want to be responsible for your code? Okay, just call me a programmer. I don't care. Call me daddy. Call me whatever. Call me cyber janitor. That's that, right? You can call me whatever you like so long as you call me. Yeah, exactly. So you identify as non-binary. Non-binary programmer. That's right. I don't even know if I want to be testing for their reliance on Chesterton's fence principle. Oh, I love the idea of... I love this. I love the Chesterton fence principle. Like, being able to apply that is really good. Just call me Pappy. I will pick I'm going to call you Pappy. I actually really loved that idea of what's it called? Of Chesterton's fence. Because there are times you have to Chesterton's fence. You don't know why things are there. You don't have the time to be able to come up with the understanding of the underlying problem. And you just need to mimic what is already there the best you possibly can, instead of trying to fix the problems that exist. That's totally okay. Like, that's really good, right? I love the Chesterton's fence call out. It also shows really great understanding of just basic principles of approaching problems. Unfortunately, they didn't read, but it was a good one. Oh, what'd you say? I think I did read. Here in Brazil, we like to say, I'm a garoto de programa, which is similar to saying male hooker. Hell yeah, brother. You'd expect them to ask questions before replicating? Yeah, my guess is you'd probably want to set the stage, right? So, Dag, if you went into a programming challenge, literally handed a person a computer and said, you have 3 hours to implement this, then why would they go off and ask questions, right? It wouldn't make any sense. I Googled Chesterton's fence here. I'll give you the best possible. There's 2 variations of this. There's Chesterton's lamppost, and that's a dick. That's a dick. Don't mind the dick. And then there's Chesterton's fence. And they're both meant to be a little bit different in their meaning, but they're both kind of very similar story. Right? They're both similar story. In Chesterton's fence, effectively 2 people walk up and they see this fence. And it's just like in the middle of the forest. And this guy is like, WTF? I could just go around the fence. Why is it here? Let's take this fence down. It makes no sense. This person's like, whoa, 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 whoa. First, we understand why a fence is here to begin with. Then we take down the fence. Right? We first understand why it's here. Then we understand why it was erected in the first place. And then we de-erect it if we need to. The lamppost is, I think, generally a better one because it describes this exact same problems, but in the multiplicity of like society, which I think is a little bit more exciting. Dude, I've been off on my guys multiple times. Right? Anyways. That's a good time. Chesterton, do be weary of that. Do be weary of that fence. I used to do FizzBuzz back in the day. I actually found FizzBuzz to be a great problem for programmers. Honestly, I thought FizzBuzz was an amazing problem for programmers. To be able to really tell someone's skill level just with basic programming concepts, I loved it. FizzBuzz is really fun and endless ways to skin the cat. Well, not only that, but just giving somebody 2 answers and they just solve the problem directly and they've never heard of FizzBuzz, I actually think that's a positive thing. You give them 3 answers and they go, ooh, I don't like this. I don't like FizzBuzz Baz. I feel like I should do something different. And then you go, why would you want to do something different? Because I'm going to have to do like all these combinations of ifs and I can kind of tell where you're going. You're going to try to make me have to do this. And you're going to add in a 4th one. And it's going to be like, I actually really, really like that as a question. I actually try to model like this question right here that I just got done explaining, this async one, is actually modeled after the idea of FizzBuzz. A question that is seemingly simple that I have the ability to add something on the end if there's time, which is actually really nice. You know coding, but it doesn't demonstrate engineering. Again, I just don't make that distinction because I don't really think it's a distinction worth making. Yeah, I just don't think it's it's ever worth any. Hey, by the way, thank you for gifting a sub to FizzBuzz. I just don't think it's a distinction worth making in the programming field. There is actual meaning to what an engineer is, and in fields like civil engineering or mechanical engineering, there's an actual real value difference between these two. And so that makes a lot of sense to actually have a real meaning in saying, hey, only if you are X can you be considered this type of engineer. That makes sense. In software engineering, it's like one person's dick measuring contest versus another person. So it's like, does it really matter? Oh, you know design patterns? That makes you like, oh, okay, you know design patterns? Name 10 of them, you're an engineer. It's just like, does that make you an engineer? Right? It's just dumb, right? You get this whole like dick measuring per hour thing going on, and I just don't really care about it. The end. It's just engineering actually comes with a real meaning in every field but software engineering. Software engineering is the only one in which there is no meaning. The word engineer is just a fancy word we've thrown on for whatever reason, and now we have the word engineering. I don't know why. I think the term engineer in regards to software is really an American thing that kind of got exported over the world. Yeah, it's stupid. I agree. It doesn't mean anything. Ooh, RizBuzz, damn. Let's just go back to calling ourselves computer programmers. Honestly, it does not matter. And anybody that like dies on that hill they're strange. Software engineers aren't real engineers. That's it. We've just added this term. That's that. You're just a programmer. And programming is a really amazing skill that has an infinite skill gap. It's like Fortnite building, right? Have you ever seen someone that's really good at Fortnite building versus someone that's not? You're pretty much programming, right? You're just like, oh, I can build a motel with Wi-Fi in 2 seconds. What can you do? Right? Just cash your check. Stop spending time on engineering versus programming. Yeah, dude, please. It just doesn't matter. It would be cool if there was legal accountability when security engineer certifies code and there's a trivial squeal injection. Yeah, but then you take that any further and you don't want that. That's the thing about coding is you don't want that any further. Like we all can agree that like basic trivial Firebase tech issues are stupid, but then it's just like some person just does something so like remember, just don't forget. This attack was not only did I discover this attack in our microservices and reported it, this attack right here was signed off by several people. Path Evaluator, that's me. Materialized True, that's the one that I discovered right there. Materialized True can DOS a machine. It effectively is equivalent of a regex DOS with how much CPU it used. And we had 20 people look at the code? Not security engineers, other engineers on different teams, backend engineers, infrastructure engineers, and me and the person that invented Falcor, like from the very inception, everybody looked at it. Not a single person saw materialize equals true could be a problem. And one day for fun, I said, hey, I got an idea. took down the entire server repetitively. Right? It's like that. It's that wild. So that's why I don't think accountability in engineering should be a thing, because accountability in software engineering is just like, or software programming masturbation, whatever term you want to use. I don't really even care what it is. It's just there's no way to calculate something out. You cannot take a set of code and say this code is unhackable, right? Like no one can look at it. Whereas I can look at if you give me proper soil samples, you give me the place, all these kind of engineering, you're expected all this, you can actually calculate a safety factor. And a safety factor allows you to say, hey, this needs to be reinforced or it doesn't need to be reinforced, and you can walk away. There's like a number at the end that you can put into that you just can't do somewhere else. And still, they don't rate against like a tidal wave, right? Like imagine some meteorite hits the water and comes doing a gigantic tidal wave, bridge still falls, right? It doesn't even matter, right? And so it's just like, even in that world, that doesn't even exist, right? The problem is security keeps evolving in software, but not in other engineering fields. I'm not sure if that's a problem. You might be making that up. Doctor, software engineer, careful of the formal methods. People will come for you. Yeah, exactly. We're in a research field. That's why we don't got to deal with criminal liability, at least not that often. Yeah, tell that to poor Backdoor Wang pick. Bro, Backdoor Wang. Oh, he got some criminal problems going on in his life. For those that don't know Backdoor Wang, he was the guy that FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, or whatever his name is, said, hey, you need to go add these extra fields for me to be able to do money laundering. And Wang was just like, yeah, I'll throw a backdoor in. So bro got known as the Backdoor Wang. Like, that's it. That is it. The name is the Primogen.